Tikbalang, buwan, di masalang. On day 19 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, Senator Robin Hood Padilla invokes the aliases of several heroes and revolutionary figures from Philippine history, including Ninoy Aquino's Marcial Bonifacio, to defend the use of pseudonyms in confidential fund receipts. Only for Senator Bam Aquino to retort, Ninoy never had such questionable funds. Outside the trial, senator judges and other parties are warned to keep the merits of the case out of public discussion or face sanctions. And from what can be said in public to how far kids could go online, is it time to ban social media? Lawmakers are pushing to shut out children 13 and below from social media access and online gaming, while regulating access for teens following a deadly school shooting in Zamboanga City. Good evening, you're watching Political Beat. I am Lourdes Vera. The Senate Impeachment Court is tightening the rules on what senator, judges, and lawyers can say outside the trial of the Vice President. Presiding Officer Francis Chis Escudero has warned of penalties for future violators of the sub judice rule. For details, we'll be talking to our mobile journalist in the Senate, Merrimon Reyes. Merrimon, okay, so who exactly is covered by the Rule 18 ng Senado, and ano ang mga hindi nila pwedeng sabihin outside the court?
Lord, itong Rule 18 kasi, yung pasok siya sa procedures ng Senado pagdating sa impeachment proceedings, and ito yung tinatawag na sub judice rule. Ibig sabihin, yung mga taong sakop nito ay hindi maaari magbigay ng komento or remark na pwedeng maapektuhan o ma-discuss yung merits ng impeachment trial proceedings or ng proceeding. So that may include yung timbang ng mga ebidensya, yung kredibilidad ng witnesses, and on the part of the senator judges, yung pagtitimbang kung mauuwi ba sa acquittal or conviction itong ini-impeach. And ang sakop nito is lahat ng senator judges, yung impeachment court, counsels ng prosecution and ng defense, pati ang in-impeach. So in this case, it's Vice President Sara Duterte. Hindi nito sakop yung mga outside observers and spokespersons na hindi nagsisilbi as counsel dito sa either of the parties. Ito yung sinasabi kanina ni Presiding Officer Chis Escudero na kaya nagpaalala or nagbigay ng suwestyon ng impeachment court weeks ago na magtalaga ang dalawang panig ng spokesperson na hiwalay talaga sa nagsisilbing counsel dahil nga nagkakaroon talaga ng pagkakataon na natatap or napag-uusapan yung merits ng proceedings. And kanina, nagpaliwanag na itong si Attorney Amando Virgil Ligutan na sinasabi niya bukod sa abogado siya, 2 dekada guro rin siya. Kaya yung post niya raw online na nirereklamo ng depensa, it's nothing personal. Wala rin daw tungkol sa defense. Ito ay tungkol daw talaga sa law na dapat itama yung posibleng maling misconception na pwedeng makuha dahil nga narinig ito, napanood ito at broadcasted din siya online and on air. Let's listen to a part of what Attorney Ligutan had to say earlier.
What did I violate? I did not discuss the merits of the case. I did not discuss the strength or the weakness of the oral arguments. Ang pagtuturo, ang pagtatama ng mali, ay walang pinipiling lugar at walang pinipiling panahon. That's why I made that post.
Merrimon, may sundot pa dyan si Atty. Ligutan tungkol daw sa humility.
Tama, Lord. Ang sabi din ni Attorney Ligutan, siya, alam niya ang salitang humility, ang pagpapakumbaba, parang wala na siyang kailangan matutunan doon tulad na parang nababanggit ng defense. Dahil sa fair share niya, nagsimula sa isang hindi magarbong pamumuhay, and he had to grow in an environment na kailangan makipag-compete talaga to earn his place or his spot in society. And kung sakali man, ang merong dapat mapaisip tungkol sa humility ay ang defense. Kasi ang opposite daw nito, pride at yung hindi raw pag-amin sa isang pagkakamaling nagawa. Lord.
May sagot ba dyan yung defense?
dapat kanina ang sinabi ni Attorney Christine Ferrer naman, nire-rectify niya yung, kina-clarify niya na yung sinasabi niyang pwede yung questions ay leading questions. Kasi during that time, si Attorney Lorna Capunan, based din doon sa transcript na binasa ni Presiding Officer Cheese, nabanggit ni Attorney Lorna, leading, tapos misleading, iniba yung salita ni Attorney Lorna Capunan. Questions are not allowed. Tapos doon nagsalita si Ferrer ng pwede. Pero ito yung sinasabi ni Presiding Officer Cheese naman na medyo mahirap nga raw i-test yung accuracy ng overlapping voices. Pero si Atty. Capunan naman later on nagsalita ulit sa podium na sinabing, ang pinututungkulan ko, yung ginagawa ng cross-exam ni Atty. Ferrer na misleading yung mga tanong niya. So nagpalagay lang yun on record ulit si Atty. Capunan.
Oo, pumalag si Atty. Capunan ng konti, ano? Tapos, hindi sigurado si presiding officer, pero napakadali lang naman balikan ng video na yun, kahit saan naka-upload yun eh. Anyway, moving on. Okay, ano ang reminder ni Escudero sa mga senator judges naman to remain impartial and politically neutral, as in cold impartiality, kumbaga?
Lord,
Ano, okay.
ito yung...
Pero anong parusa naman sa kanila kung sakaling hindi sila magpakita nung hinahanap na... Pero natatawa na lang si Mary Mon Reyes eh.
Lord, ang sinabi kanina kasi ni Senator Cheese, yung dapat ang ehemplo dito sa ine-expect na decorum ay silang korte, silang senator judges. Kaya nagbigay din ng reminder sa impartiality and yung political impartiality and neutrality na ine-expect dito sa mga senador. Them as senator judges, pwede silang magbato pa rin ng mga tanong, questionin yung testigo, magbato ng clarificatory questions, pero hindi raw matatawag na partial yung tanong kung yung sagot na inaasahan dito o kumbaga may ine-expect ng sagot ay makakatulong sa isang panig one way or the other. Kumbaga, kailangan more on clarifications para raw sa katotohanan at hindi magtutunog na may napapanigan. Yun yung isang reminder ni Presiding Officer Escudero. Let's listen din muna sa isang bahagi ng sinabi ni Senator Cheese.
The line is clear. Senator judges may test the evidence here, record, exercising the cold neutrality of an impartial judge. When constituted as an impeachment court, the Senate does not cast aside the discipline of parliamentary practice.
Okay, Mary Mon, ang sinabing, kumbaga, parusa doon sa mga lalabag ethics ethics complaint lang na mga kasama rin nila yung mga yun no? Pero medyo may tama naman ito if ever sa mga abogado at sa mga witness. At ano ang penalty sa kanila, Mary Mon?
Tama, Lord. Pagdating sa senator judges, pwedeng sila mapupulis nila yung isa't isa, pero maaari ring magkaroon ng ethics complaint kapag may naobserbahan na senador na hindi inoobserbahan yung ine-expect na impartial and yung neutrality. Pagiging impartiality and neutrality. On the part naman ng counsels, the prosecution or ng defense, ngayon kasi walang naparusahan So, clean slate, all are forgiven muna, pero from this day on forward, mahigpit nang i-implement itong Rule 18. Unang violation sa abogado na makikitang lumalabag dito sa Rule 18, admonishing, reprimanding, pagpapaalala to sa korte in open court. Pangalawang violation, merong statutory fine na 30,000 pesos. Yung third, fourth, fifth na violation, pwede rin gano'n na rin ang penalty at maaari rin pagbawalan muna sa pagpapakita o pagtayo sa impeachment trial court etong specific counsels. At maaari rin mapunta sa usapin na sa integrated bar o kaya naman sa korte kung may iba pang sanksyon na maaaring mapataw dito sa abogadong ito. At isa pang sinabi rin kanina ng korte, para sa dalawang panig, pag talaga na kayo ng spokesperson talagang magsasalita lang. Kaya even si Attorney Michael Powa, nasabi niya na rin kanina, urgently naghahanap na rin sila ng spokesperson. At sakop din nitong Rule 18 yung naging statement ni VP Sara Duterte kaninang bandang alas 10 ng umaga. Pero dahil nilabas niya yung statement na yan, habang nagro-ruling na yung impeachment court, kasama yon sa all are forgiven for the meantime.
Oo.
Kaya sinabi rin dito ni Cheese, via the counsel of the respondent, remind na sundin na, obserbahan na natin itong Rule 18.
Ang term dyan, Merrimon, is proactive. So, anything na gagawin statement mula August 26, yun ang covered.
Tama, clean slate ngayon tabula rasa muna Pero lahat na sa mga susunod na araw, linggo, buwan, hanggang sa matapos to, bantay sarado na raw. Pero ang nasabi rin kanina pala ni impeachment court spokesperson Attorney Reggie Tonggol, passive kasi ang impeachment court pagdating dyan. So, tulad ngayon, nagkaroon kasi ng observation yung presiding officer, kaya nagkaroon na ng ruling para maging malinaw na para sa lahat. Nakadepende na lang din kung mayroon pang ibang formal manifestations from the prosecution or the defense o kaya naman sa senator judges na magre-raise ng concern kung mayroong lumabag na naman sa mga susunod na araw dito sa Rule 18.
Teka, mabilis lang, napag-usapan natin yung sinabi ni Senator Presiding Officer Escudero. Bagong lahat, Merrimon, ano ang na-establish naman dito sa pag-cross ng defense kay Lemuel Ortonio? May bago ba o may mga napatunayan lang ba?
Lord, yung nangyari kasi kanina sa pagte-testify pa rin ni Ortonio, siya mismo nagsabi na ang pinaka-responsable pagdating dito sa confidential funds ay si Vice President Sara Duterte. And unfortunately, limitado yung personal knowledge niya sa kung paano nagamit yung confidential funds. Si VP Sara nag-dictate nung kung magkano yung CF na kinakailangan, si Colonel Raymond Dante La Chica from the VP-SPG ang nag-implement. And ang uminit ang ulo, kumbaga nagisa rin si Ortonio kanina ng senator judges doon sa parte na kung may supervisory na posisyon siya, bakit hindi niya binusisi yung mga resibo? O tinanong man lang daw si Colonel La Chica na kulang pa, ano pa yung pwedeng mapakita na eto ba yung nagamit talaga, yung mga pangalan na ito, ganyan. Pero sinasabi, by nature, sensitive daw, confidential daw kasi yung programs and activities na ginawa ng OVP. At nirectify naman ni Ortonio na wala raw reimbursement na nangyari noong last quarter of 2022. Ang nangyari nung nagpadala daw sila ng physical and financial plan nung September, etong si Colonel La Chica may naka-coordinate na raw na possible agents or informants. At nung nasecure na raw yung confidential funds, doon na raw naging selyado talaga na eto na yung paggagastusan. Pero still, questionable pa rin na sa loob lang ng 11 days, nagamit o nagasta na itong 125 million pesos in confidential funds na binigay sa informants.
Ibig sabihin,
pera.
Merrimon, parang yung testimonya rin ni Acosta, all roads lead to Colonel La Chica pa rin.
They are still leading to Colonel La Chica. Highwayman, NLEXman, SLEXman, so far napupunta kay Colonel La Chica.
Oo. Okay, Merrimon, last na lang. Napag-usapan na ang magiging schedule pa rin ng trial ay sa hapon pa rin ba?
Sa
pala.
ngayon, umaga pa rin.
Okay.
Umaga pa rin kasi ang sinabi dito last time ng korte, hihintayin muna nilang makita yung schedule o yung kalendaryo naman ng Senado pagdating sa budget season. Kaya ang aantabayanan natin dito si Finance Committee Chairman Senator JV Ejercito at pag nakita na yon, doon na raw ipa-finalize kung tulad na naging suggestion ni Senator Mig Zubiri, mapupunta na ulit sa hapon yung impeachment trial hanggang magsawa o kung sakali man, madadagdagan lang ba ng oras kada araw o madadagdagan na ng araw kada linggo itong impeachment.
Okay. Pero you have to admit kanina, yung parang mini lecture ni Cheese Escudero, ang mga nasa poll doon mostly ay yung mga nasa panig ng prosecution, Merrimon.
Well, active kasi sila, lahat sila. And marami rin ang nagsisilbing spokes o nagsasalita on the part of the prosecution. So, kanina, tinatry din nating makipag-usap sa ilang mga counsel na prosecution after the proceeding. Pero ang sinasabi na nila, out of respect doon sa naging ruling ng impeachment court, medyo magiging limitado na raw sila sa maaari nilang sagutin. Kaya more likely ang makakausap na natin on the part of the prosecution si Attorney Benjamin Talosa na. Sa defense naman, naghahanap na ng spokesperson, hindi na si Attorney Michael Powa.
Naku, buti na interview pa natin si Attorney Ligutan dati. Pero kung merits of the case naman, siguro kung medyo creative ka magtanong o kung alam mo yung limits, maari naman sigurong kumbaga magkaroon ng work around sa ganung mga limitasyon. Tama ba, Merrimon?
Yan yung isa sa mga aalamin natin kasi mahigpit na talaga ngayon ang impeachment court sa kumbaga sa pagbusisi kung mayroon na nga bang lumalabag talaga diyan sa Rule 18. Ang kumbaga pag nakita kasi na mayroong pinasok na evaluation tungkol sa impeachment trial, sa testigo, sa ebidensya, sa possible acquittal or sa conviction, paglabag na siya sa Rule 18. Kaya yan yung mga, kumbaga, tingnan natin sa mga susunod na linggo.
Abangan natin yan. Nakamonitor daw ang mga alagad ng Senado. Merrimon, ikaw ba may alias bago ka pakawalan?
Palayaw, meron.
Ano?
Marami. Mona, Kukay, Monggay.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat sa iyo, alias Monggay, a.k.a. Merrimon Reyes, ang ating mojo sa Senado. Thank you, Merrimon. All right, this is still Political Beat. In politics, there are no permanent friends, only permanent interests, and we're interested in taking a quick break. Please stick around. And you're still watching Political Beat. I'm Lourdes de Vera. So lawmakers are moving to restrict children's access to social media and online games following recent cases of school shootings. A House proposal would completely ban access for children aged 13 and below, while imposing certain restrictions for those aged 14 to 18 or 17. To talk about this and more issues surrounding the state of education in the Philippines, we have Pasig Representative and House Basic Education Committee Chair, Roman Romulo. Magandang gabi, Congressman. Thank you for making it in the studio, sir.
Yes, good evening, Lord, and everyone watching. Good evening po sa ating lahat.
All right. So, galing kayong House kanina. Kaninong komite po ang tinalakay po ninyo? Pakikichismis lang ako mabilis.
Ngayon araw talaga, it was, sa akin, basically, it was about the discussion on the bill with relation to the social media and online gaming platform regulation. Yun talaga yung tinalakay kasi sa totoo, this has been tackled by the House since last year. Medyo matagal na rin tinatakil ito. Marami talagang, hindi naman ganun kadali talaga. And now, nandito na kami sa home stretch. And as you mentioned, the version that we are working on now bans social media and online gaming platforms for children below 13. For those 13 up to below 18, sila yung regulated yung paggamit. That is the current proposal.
Ano yung mga certain features that need to be, controlled?
For regulated, yung 13 to below 18, what will be regulated generally, yung mga harmful content. Yung may meaning, yung violence, porn, sexuality, yung mga ganun. Yun yung maliwanag na dapat hindi kasama. Yung mga features like shorts and scrolling will also be limited, yung features niya. Hindi rin natin papayagan for 13 to below 18. Generally, doon nakapaikot yung regulation for 13 to less than 18.
One of the elements that you're urging is you're insisting that all these online companies have to have physical presence dito sa Pilipinas. Kumbaga may opisina dapat sila na physical, ano? Gaano ka-challenging ba yun? Ang Facebook pala, wala silang dito sa Pilipinas.
Well, ang importante kasi para maging effective ang any measure, any law, is that we have jurisdiction over the social media platforms or online gaming platforms that can be accessed in the Philippines. So, yun talaga yung una natin if you want to be able, if you want individuals to access your platform from the Philippines, then you must establish a Philippine presence here. Yun yung una naming requirement. Kailangan talaga yun. Kasi kung hindi, then kahit anong gawin natin na batas, there will be no way of implementing it successfully. Kasi wala kang jurisdiction over the person. It's online. So, yun yung una. Ang sinabi sa amin ng DICT, they have the capacity to block. So if you do not have a Philippine presence, we will ask the DICT to block you.
Bakit yung Roblox, Congressman, successfully na-block naman nila yun?
Ano naman yun yes. What do you mean, ano?
Yung gaming platform na Roblox. One of those pala. O,
Yung today na na-announce, ang alam ko, what happened there was medyo by agreement yun.
Okay.
Yes, by agreement yun. That, the point is, kaya ng DICT at kaya rin ng platform. They can, on their own, kaya nila talaga either mag-stop, dito naman, mag-block tayo. So yun ang gusto natin.
So voluntary lang pala
Voluntary yun, yes.
At hindi palagi ganun ang sitwasyon.
Well, because ngayon, because of the recent incidents sa school, siguro talagang may kinakausap na talaga ng DICT. Pero ang gusto natin ngayon, moving forward na. As we move forward, how do we implement it successfully? And the only way is we require Philippine presence.
Ang isang lusot daw dyan, pero kahit walang jurisdiction, but if they are in conflict with our existing laws, posible yung mga tinatamaan at tatamaan o talagang kailangan ba talagang absolute jurisdiction para kahit papano mas magkaroon tayo ng konting buwelo?
Kasi that is, kung within Philippine jurisdiction, subject sila sa Philippine laws, their presence here will be subject to all our laws. Pero kung wala sila dito, mahirap. Di ba? Paano mo how are you able to implement the law? Di ba? Kung wala sila dito, you cannot gain control over them. Walang, no way.
Unless may tatamaan silang law about, let's say, privacy, basta yung covered ng ating mga bata, cybercrime.
Yes,
mga
but then we will
cyber libel.
have to send summons abroad.
Para yung nangyari doon sa tagal daw.
Pero may territorial application ng mga batas natin, di ba? Of course, meron yung extraterritorial, pero with respect to, lalo na kung criminal laws, it's always territorial, di ba? So kailangan you will be able to get them within the universe of our laws, di ba? Kasi kung nasa abroad sila, hindi talaga puro pakiusap yun.
Pero ang joke na iba, or medyo morbid joke, kapag school shooting to, ang tagal matanggal online ng mga video. Pero pag may copyright strike na kanta, ang bilis-bilis daw. Pero ibang usapan yun,
Diba?
Congressman?
Yes.
Okay. Yung anong nagawa ng mga bansa tulad ng Australia, bakit successfully napa-implement nila tong ban na ito? Pero ang isang posibleng downside down, kasi Congressman, halimbawa sa Facebook, ang ginagamit na rin pala ang Facebook, of course, sa maraming mga eskwelahan at sa mga klase, bilang yun yung kanilang bulletin board. Kung may pasok ba bukas, kung anong assignment gagawin, may mga messenger chats daw sila. So, paano daw yun?
Under the proposed measure, yung dinadraft natin ngayon, may exceptions. And yung exceptions doon really would be yung educational tools provided na those are supervised by the school authorities themselves. So, papayagan pa rin natin yun. Kasi if it's a tool for homework, for being able to make announcements, pero lahat yun, dapat under the supervision of the school. Hindi naman pwede, katulad sa gaming. Sa gaming, ang talagang feature that we are banning will be yung chat groups, or if you're able to communicate. Yun sinasabi natin, yun yung dapat bawal. Yun yung feature na hindi natin papayagan under the proposed bill.
Kasi once upon a time, we could play Atari in peace.
And right now, ang intindi ko, may mga online gaming applications that you can actually be able to play, enjoy the game, without any need for any feature na maki-chat ka sa kabila, magko-communicate ka online.
Ganun ang games. Once upon a
and that
time.
is still possible now.
Pero ito kasi, parang that's opening them to these nihilistic groups.
That's the moment meron kasing chat groups, alam naman natin, di ba, sinabi naman ng experts ng mga psychologists that ang bata naman talaga, yung cognitive development niya ay nagde-develop pa.
Yeah.
So talagang kailangan ng guidance. So medyo malleable pa siya at this point in time. So doon pag may chat groups, doon ang kung hindi properly guided and guarded, doon talaga may posible na contributory factor. Kasi hindi naman natin pwede sabihin talaga na online lang at saka yung social media platforms solely yung are to blame. Marami talagang contributory factors.
Okay. Ano yung ginawang tama ng Australia? Bakit na-implement nila ito?
Well, sila naman political will yun. Gumawa sila ng batas.
Maraming ganyan ng Pilipinas.
But hindi pa naman siya fully successful, di ba?
Okay. Kasi simula pa lang, di ba?
Yes, may amendments na ata silang ginagawa.
Agad?
Yes. Kasi based on their own studies, marami pa rin minors doon na nakagamit ng social media platforms. And
Nakakalusot.
based on a committee meeting o TWG meeting we had, in fact, ang binanggit sa amin is that there was a study that came out na 1 out of 3 parents, in fact, are complicit dun sa pag-violate nung a ban on social media. Sa kanila kasi 16 and below ang ban nila. So, again, it's good that they have that law. I guess political will yun para magkabatas ka ng ganon. But then the implementation itself, I guess they are also still trying to improve on it.
Oo, ang daming mga issues kay Mark Zuckerberg at Meta. At considering ang Pilipinas, ang isa sa mga biggest clients sila, di ba? Kung dapat may ano tayo.
That is correct. In fact, yun ang dinidiscuss namin sa TWG. Because tinanong ko rin yun Pag meron tayo, first we want a physical presence. Pero may nagsabi, will it be possible pag require natin yan, mawawala sila. Pero, again, there's also those who told us na ang laki nung base nila dito
Correct.
sa Pilipinas that, I'm sure they will be reasonable enough to want to work within any Philippine law regulation. And sigurado ka naman, I doubt, yung platforms na ito, I doubt naman that they created them, they want their platforms to be used. In fact, they've been I found out they've been cooperative naman Tumutulong rin sila yung sa self-regulation nila.
Yes.
But we feel na hindi siya sapat. So gusto natin na talaga mahigpitan because nangyayari na merong mga nangyaring incidents na ganito.
Ang isang delikado rin daw, Congressman, is the more you ban something, mas mag-i-increase daw yung curiosity ng bata. Pero bago mo sagutin yan, magbe-break muna tayo. Alright, patience is a virtue, they say, so we beg for your patience because Political Beat will be back faster than you can say unity. You're still watching Political Beat. Let's get back to our discussion with Pasig Representative and House Basic Education Committee Chair, Roman Romulo. All right, sir. This thing about yung curiosity, at kung gusto ng bata at gagawa ng paraan na mahanap yan. Hindi gaya nung araw, ang hinahanap lang natin is certain kinds of reading material.
Yes, pero again, yung ban natin, total ban is for those below 13.
Yes.
And at that, yung ages po na yan, alam naman natin na doon talaga, children talaga siya. Hindi pa ang 13 to below 18, yun yung adolescents natin, di ba? So at that age, I think with the proper guidance nung parents, nung guardians niya in the school, I think it has been proven na even lessening of the screen time is beneficial. Di ba? Sweden, Finland, I think Denmark, there are other European countries that are now cutting back on the use, in fact, of technology in their elementary level. And from what I read, the basis for that is based on a study, nag-i-improve talaga yung reading comprehension.
Naku.
And second, nag-i-improve rin yung activation ng brain memory niya. So I think there's enough study for us to be able to guide our young ones, especially those below 13, because it will be beneficial to them na balik talaga tayo sa pen and paper. Doon talaga tayo.
Japan, Kong, has one of the lowest social media usage anywhere in the world, and that's Japan.
Yes.
Oo. Okay, Kong, ano ang opinion mo dito sa school drills? At ikaw ba ay agree doon sa pagpo-postpone at yung sinasabi ng mga groups of psychiatrists?
Yes. Una, Lord, I think we have to, at the end of the day, kailangan natin sundan naman yung experts. Sinabi sa atin ng experts, I think napakarami naman talaga nag-forward sa committee namin to the Department of Education that hindi pa pwede yung active shooting drill without the proper preparation. And we have about 47,000 DepEd schools nationwide. So talagang in that sense, makinig tayo sa experts. Sinabi nila, wag wag naman without the proper preparation na mag-active school shooting drill tayo especially because kakangyari lang nung incident sa Zamboanga. And fortunately, ang DepEd naman also listen to that. Siguro pwede yon depending on the city, the region, siguro case to case. Pero if I remember correctly, yung objection talaga was yung nationwide na how can you prepare all the students nationwide? That should be about 26 million students, 27 million students, 47,000 schools. How will DepEd be able to be on top of all those the actual drills for all that? So I think tamang nakinig. And then let's prepare. I think DepEd should do the groundwork. Pero in the meantime, importante yung strict police presence. Nakikita natin very active yung school authorities, yung local government authorities to ensure parents, teachers, non-teaching students na safe yung campuses natin. I think yun talagang that has to happen at ginagawa naman ngayon. Pero yung active shooting drill as a nationwide drill activity, makinig tayo sa experts. Huwag naman isang malakihan because how do you prepare? How will DepEd prepare and supervise na prepared talaga?
At per age level daw, per grade level, may dapat sarili silang preparasyon.
Preparasyon,
Na
yes.
hindi pwedeng apply sa iba.
Yes.
Kasi
And
depende
47,000 DepEd schools, 26 to 27 million students. Ang hirap nun. For a one day, how do you supervise that, di ba? And prepare for that.
Kala nila parang yung earthquake drill nga komplikado na, 'di ba?
Yes.
Dapat ano 'yun. Okay, tatalon tayo. Sinabi mo kanina yung reading comprehension, ano? Okay, ang EDCOM 2 of which you are co-chair, no? Spent 3 years diagnosing Philippine education. Okay, ano yung isang finding talaga na shocked you to your core?
Well, anecdotally kasi maririnig mo naman talaga yan dati pa na may magkikwento na bakit may umabot sa sa senior high school o junior high school o nagtatrabaho na nakapagtapos ng high school na may magsasabi na pero parang hindi niya maintindihan yung simple instructions. I mean, anecdotally marami ng kwentong ganyan. And then when EDCOM 2 came about, and then ito na lumalabas yung PISA exam, SEA PLM, TIMS, and then even our own National Achievement Test, yung ating sariling Carla, na talagang yung reading comprehension, much to be desired. So it just affirmed. Pero of course, nakakagulat talaga. Pero anecdotally, all throughout the years naman, maririnig mo na yung kwentong ganito. But now, as EDCOM 2 dove deeper into the various reasons, yun talaga yung siguro marami talagang matututunan. Example, pag-usapan na natin this year, this administration gave the biggest budget ever to the Department of Education. Talagang, ito naman, record-breaking yung binigay. But despite that, hindi natin ma-address lahat ng issues. So at the end of the day, it's a matter of prioritizing. Secondly, it's also capacity building. Kasi yung 3 big issues talaga, for me would be, now facing us is the nutrition problem.
Isa pa yan.
Kasi sinabi nila, yung stunting, wasted. Pag by 5 years old, ay wasted yung stunted growth ka, very difficult to, even if we help out that child, mahirap na niya ma-reach yung full potential niya physically and cognitively. Diba, dalawa yun eh. So yung problema talaga is nutrition. The second big problem,
Dapat bang ibalik ang Nutriban?
now ginagawa na yun, binabalik na yun. The second big issue problem is human resources. We really need to capacitate our teachers, support them, and not only with lessening of competencies and subjects, pero pati yung admin work, yung mga counselors, dapat ihiwalay na sa kanila.
Bakit nga ba umaabot tayo sa punto na nagtuturo ang isang teacher nang hindi niya naman core competency?
That is yun yung isa, because nga hindi naman tayo, we did not properly coordinate things. Remember, nag-trifocalize tayo. Before, it used to be called DECS, Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. So lahat nandun, yung basic education, higher education, nandun yung skills training, nandun yung sports, at nandun yung culture. When we trifocalize, na-separate sila, na-divide sila, in fact, into 5 agencies. Meron tayong basic education, DepEd. Meron tayong higher education, CHED. Meron tayong skills training,
TESDA.
which is TESDA.
Na hindi
Meron-
nag-uusap-usap.
Meron tayong cultural agency, NCCA. At meron tayong sports, which we also separated from, hindi na siya DEX eh. Di ba? Nagkaroon na tayo ng Philippine Sports Commission. So lahat sila, independent agencies that had their own mandates and had their own spheres of influence na hindi naman sila nag-mix eh. Hindi naman sila combined eh. So sa totoo, dun pa lang, ngayon, sino ang main pinaka-importante natin for basic education? Teachers natin. Quality. O sino nagte-train sa kanila? CHED. Sino ang nagbibigay ng exam nila? Hindi naman DepEd. Hindi rin namang CHED, di ba? There's another body that gives the licensure exam. Pero dati, hindi naman talaga nag-uusap eh. Walang coordination eh. Until we passed the Excellence in Teacher Education Act, wherein, under the Teacher Education Council, rin-require na natin na dapat, after the fact, may comment na hingin sa DepEd at sa CHED dun sa mga licensure examination na binibigay. Kasi wala silang alam dun eh. Hindi nila alam. Sa curriculum ng college, dapat may say rin naman ang DepEd doon, di ba? But previously, before the coordination is being fixed right now, in silo sila. Iba-iba yung iba-iba yung the way they operated.
Yung fragmentation na to ay may pinopropose ka parang National Coordinating Council para i-harmonize ang lahat.
Yes.
Pero hindi ba magdadagdag lang isang layer ng bureaucracy ito?
Hindi, pero under the proposed measure, marami kasi ngayon interagency. Marami na talaga. Tinatanggal na rin natin yung mga... we are asking them to rationalize all the interagency committees. At dito na tayo under the Office of the President. Para matutukan na natin na, kunyari, yung teachers. Right now, meron tayong GMRC, di ba? It's a new
Good
subject,
manners
Good
and
Manners
right
and Right Conduct.
Meron pa ba?
By law, we reintroduced it.
Okay.
May bagong batas yan na na-reintroduce siya. Kailangan, meron tayong, nababantayan ng DepEd and CHED na meron tayong mga experts na teachers that are focused on good manners and right conduct. Right now, yan ang nangyayari. Hindi naman talaga, wala naman talagang focused on GMRC sa colleges natin or subjects, di ba? So, ang nangyayari doon, a teacher would probably be asked to teach GMRC also.
Google na lang siya.
So, hindi nagiging yung expertise niya. So now with this coordinating, once we are able to coordinate all these agencies, siguro kahit paano, at nakita naman natin, mag-i-improve naman talaga yung ano natin.
Anong meron sa grade 3 kong? Bakit napaka-crucial sa pag-aaral ng EDCOM ang grade 3?
Key stage level 1 kasi ang K to 3. Dito dapat yung foundational skills like reading comprehension, dapat kahit papano yung grade level reading niya, grade 3. Kasi after that, mas complex na yung babasahin. Mathematics. Once you reach grade 4, darating na doon yung mga fractions. Paano kung hindi mo nga na-master yung...
Lahat yan, basihan yan pag-reading eh.
Basta mathematics, paano kung hindi yung basics, hindi mo alam, addition, subtraction, and then pupunta kang fraction. So, that is, dapat talaga by grade 3, nakuha na natin na at least yung basics for functional literacy, which is reading comprehension, grade level ready, mathematics, grade level ready. Andun tayo. Kasi once you graduate to key stage level 2, yung level key stage 2, yung 4 to 6, mas complex na. Pumapasok na for mathematics, papasok na ang fractions. So, kung hindi mo alam yung pinaka-basic, it will be very difficult to cope with that next level na.
You're against mass promotion. Pero itong isang difficult political question din, ano? Are parents prepared to accept thousands of children being held back just in case? And does the Department of Education have enough classrooms and teachers if we seriously end mass promotion?
Yes. My proposal actually is for those students already now enrolled in our basic education, we cannot retain them kasi hindi naman sila yung may kasalanan. Kunyari, yung grade 4 student, na ang grade level reading comprehension is grade 2. Hindi naman natin siya pwedeng i-hold back dahil hindi niya kasalanan yon. It was the system that failed him. So ang sinasabi ko, dapat yung grade 4 student na yon, pahabol natin. We should, kung kailangan alisin siya sa regular programming, alisin muna siya doon. And that's why the ARAL program is there. Yung ARAL program, kunyari medyo behind ka sa
Ayan,
grade
ARAL,
level mo, doon ka ngayon, they will try to ensure na makakahabol ka. Pero, yung sinasabi mong mass promotion, we should begin now sa mga incoming na K o grade 1. Kasi doon pa lang, dapat siguraduhin natin that the system works for them. And DepEd now is implementing lesser subjects, lesser competencies. 5 subjects na lang, ang grades 1 and 2. Ang grade 3, 6 kasi dadagdagan ng science. And nakafocus lahat yon functional literacy. Hindi na katulad dati, 8 or 9 subjects, di ba?
Yung ARAL, ito yung Academic Recovery and Accessible Learning, ito parang tutorial program. Pero sinasabi nila, poor attendance daw, insufficient tutors, and uncertainty over allowances ang problema.
Yes.
Okay. Mahalaga sigurong bahagi ito, pero dapat magkaroon din ng ayos. Pero kung yung
But
sinasabi...
we should tackle that eh.
Yeah.
Una, kasi that was brought before our committee and during EDCOM 2 visits. Una, sinasabi nila yung ARAL program, sabi nga nila dapat may overtime pay yun, di ba? But under the Magna Carta for teachers, mayroon doon a maximum of 6 hours na teaching. Yung ARAL program, pinasok yun within the 6 hours. So, hindi dapat mag-exceed ng 6 hours. Pag nag-exceed dyan ang may overtime. Pero the ARAL program itself, being implemented now, ang sinasabi ko nga sa DepEd, maybe you should not have called it ARAL, remedial, or a catch-up class. Pero it is still within the maximum 6 hours under the Magna Carta. Nandoon pa rin siya. Again, tama rin yung teachers naman. Kasi yung complaint dyan really was, hindi naman yung sa ngayon eh. It was during the summer break. Di ba? Nung summer break, nagkaroon ng parang ARAL program. Again, doon kailangan mag-improve talaga ang DepEd. Bakit? Kasi una, dapat nakapag-hire sila ng tutors. Dapat hindi lang regular teachers yon. Pero hindi, there was not, according to the schools that we visited, hindi sila nabigyan ng enough lead time to be able to interview, announce, and hire tutors. So yun, kailangan ng improvement
Pwede pa ayusin
talaga.
talaga.
Kailangan maayos talaga ng DepEd yung timing na yan. But Lord, it's not as easy. Kasi parang yung nutrition program, kahit na may funding ngayon, pero yung capacity nung DepEd itself, baka hindi nila kaya. Baka ang dami na rin nilang trabahong ginagawa.
Ibang layer yan.
So yung capacity rin nila, kailangan natin i-capacitate yung human resources infrastructure ng DepEd.
May mga, tayo lang kung nag-uusap, may mga diskaya types ba dito sa DepEd? Mga kontratista din. Nasabihin natin, medyo unscrupulous ang dealings.
Ang masasabi ko lang, 'di ba nagkaroon ng kinasuhan ng Department of Education yung alleged ghost students nung senior high school. And yun, 'di ba? Nagkaroon ng ganyan. So again, that is isa pa lang yan na nakasuhan nila or na nalaman nila na nangyayari. So it's possible, 'di ba? Because sa dami siguro ng trabaho, ang laki rin kasi nung
At ang laki ng budget din.
laki ng budget nila yun, ang laki nung ang laki nung DepEd family. You're talking
yan.
about 1 million teachers nationwide or more than 1 million teachers. Meron pang non-teaching staff yun. And then you're talking about 26 to 27 million students. So talagang,
Pero sabi nila, wala raw sa laki yan, nasa paggamit yan. Pero kung ito,
but we have to capacitate yung human resource infrastructure.
gusto ko tutukan to, yung isa sa mga results ng EDCOM ay yung NAT Plan, National Plan 2026 to 2035, tama ba? What mechanism would prevent succeeding presidents, administrations from ignoring this project? Kasi alam mo naman ang nangyayari dito, di ba?
Well, hopefully naman, because yung EDCOM 2, kung makikita nyo rin naman, different parties talaga ang involved doon, from the Senate and from the House. Yung product niya, work yun talaga, o based on studies yun. So hopefully, yung roadmap that was provided dito sa last EDCOM 2 report, which included yung NAT plan, ay dapat masunod yun. Pero, hindi rin naman ganun kadaling masunod yun because malaking bahagi doon ay dapat mag-grow rin yung ating economy. Because we will have to be able to grow our workforce. And to grow our workforce, kailangan rin natin ng magandang trabaho dito sa ating bansa. High-value paying jobs. So our economy must improve. Because yun yung, doon tayo patungo eh. Kung wala ka naman mapro-provide na trabaho, yung NAT plan na yan, katulad yung for the TESDA, gusto natin NC3 na ang binibigyan natin, hindi NC1 or 2. We want to graduate to at the minimum NC3. Kailangan may trabaho dito. Kailangan may trabaho dito na mapapasukan yung makakuha ng National Certificate 3, 4, or 5. Kasi yung under the Philippine Qualifications Framework, pag may NC3 ka, ibig sabihin nun, may skill ka on your own. You're an independent skilled worker. Eh kung wala tayong ma-provide na trabaho sa Pilipinas,
Para saan pa yun?
saan sila pupunta? Then they will look for other pastures.
Kawing talaga yung mga issues, ano? Hindi mo pwedeng i-isolate lang.
Hindi,
Oo.
hindi talaga eh.
Naku, dami ko pang gustong itanong, pero wala na tayong oras. Maraming salamat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lord.
Lone District of Pasig Representative Roman Romola. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lord.
Hope to have you again on the
Yes,
show.
good evening to all.
All right. This is still Political Beat. We'll be back after this brief ceasefire with capitalism. Senator Cheese Escudero found himself performing one of the rather stranger constitutional duties imaginable today. Reminding Senator judges that judges are supposed to be impartial. This is rather like reminding undertakers that their customer is supposed to be dead. The presiding officer stressed that they must preserve both the reality and the appearance of stone-cold neutrality. Avoid partisan advocacy and remember that questioning witnesses is meant to discover the truth, not to deliver speeches for one side. This is particularly awkward for several members of the minority, whose behavior has consistently resembled a basketball fan's neutrality during the UAAP finals. Months before the trial, one senator judge was already arguing that the minority was duty-bound to oppose the impeachment because, as he understood parliamentary democracy, it is the minority's job to basically refute and resist everything from the majority. Then again, said senator this afternoon equated the use of pseudonyms to heroism and compared the communist armed rebellion to Spanish colonial rule. Nobody expects senators to enter the chamber purified of all bias and ideology, but they must at least be open to the possibility that evidence might change their minds. Otherwise, we should stop calling this a trial. It's basically political karaoke where everybody already knows the song, everybody knows who's going to sing, and who will be proclaimed ang bagong kampiyon. Perhaps this way, we can save the taxpayers some electricity bills. And this is the great obscenity lurking beneath all that theater. And theater is basically a trial is meaningless if the verdict has already been written inside certain senators' heads before the first witness even opened his mouth. Here is what judges do. Listen to the evidence, question witnesses to discover facts, and not to audition for somebody's legal team. Otherwise, we should stop calling this a trial. They have a name for that court in which the principles of law and justice are disregarded or perverted. One characterized by irresponsible, unauthorized, or irregular status, or procedures. Clue, it's named after an animal, a leaping marsupial found only in Australia. It starts with the letter. And that's the word of the Lord for tonight, the Political Beat, this Wednesday, the 26th of August. I am Lord De Vera, alias Apat Mata. Enjoy the rest of your evening.